I'm Sarah Wyatt. I'm Associate Professor in Environmental and Plant Biology and Vice President of the Ohio Chapter of Sigma Xi. And welcome to the Science Cafe. Shawn Ostermann, Dr. Kruse, and Dr. Phil Campbell. And they're going to be talking to you guys about wireless networks.
Thank you. So, we're all going to be talking at different times, and so people will tell you a little bit about where they're from when it comes up. But I need to start with a disclaimer. Now, I know that not everybody here is here for this presentation, but could I get everybody to look at me for 15 seconds, whether they're here for the presentation or not? This is important. Okay. Do I need the microphone?
Yeah, you really need the microphone for this.
Test. Oh, okay, for this part. Okay, so, you know when you call AT&T or somebody and you want to complain about your bill, what they always tell you while you're listening to the fun music is, this call may be recorded for quality or training purposes. You heard that, right? All right. This talk is like this. Your conversations will be monitored for illustration purposes for this talk. Now, this talk is about wireless networking. And we're going to tell you a lot about the things that you should know and you should be worried about. Now, we're not doing anything super secret. We haven't spent $1 million on equipment, but I have some barbarians in the room. I brought my own barbarians. They are using the same kind of equipment that you have to see what you're doing for the purposes of this talk. Now, I'm not purposely going to be grabbing things from you. We're mostly grabbing things from us and the other barbarians. We're not going to take anything with us. We're not going to publish it. We're not going to do anything with it. But if you're on wireless networking right now doing something, there is the possibility, if you're not using something with a padlock on it, that they might accidentally see a bit of what you're doing. That's part of what we want to talk about today. So we are going to be very careful. We're going to be very ethical about it. But if you're running some sort of Nigerian scam right now or something, you may want to do it on the other side of the building. So that's your fair disclaimer. Now, all right, we'll stay on here. So we actually have two different parts of this talk. It's on wireless networking. And the first part, I guess I'll call practical networking. The stuff that you guys are doing on here on your iPhones and Blackberries and laptops and everything. And the second half of the talk is more about our research area. I'm going to call that impractical networking. We've got some various experts in different pieces. What I want to do to start is, Phil Campbell is going to tell you a lot about padlocks and passwords and scary things found on the network. So Phil, why don't you have at it?
Thanks, Shawn. I'm not really used to doing stand-up comedy, at least not on purpose. And you know, it's kind of a daunting thing for us. Well, we've got like 5 classes in information and telecommunication systems, and for today, they want us to condense it down to an hour and keep it light. So the keep it light part I can promise. If you've got a question, I'd rather you were polite in yelling it out. But we're gonna start with a minute or two about how this wireless networking stuff works. Then we'll talk about how it works isn't really secure, because people like these can do what they're going to do. All right, so let's start off with it's radio. Right, from your computer, from your laptop, from your iPhone, it's radio. And radio by its nature is a broadcast thing, right? You don't aim your computer, you just broadcast. All right, well, up above the ceiling, and we did a little walkthrough the other day, and we're unable to see any visible indication of where, but up in the ceiling, there are what are called wireless access points. They are antennas, and they are antennas that connect to the university's wired network. So if you're one of the people out there with a laptop and you happen to be immediately below one of these wireless access points, your transmission is wireless for about 15 feet. And from that point on is wireless through the internet every bit as if you were plugged in with a regular wire. Right? So Dilbert's pointy-haired boss really doesn't know what he's talking about because wireless is access technology. It's also, because it's radio, it's broadcast. And the access point has a tough job because it's got potentially dozens of laptops that it's got to keep straight. It's got to not let them step on each other. It's got to transmit to individual ones, and they've got to keep straight what's for them and what's not. That's ITS 437 in detail. Shawn, you have a question?
No.
No, you look like you had a question.
What time does that class meet? I want to go.
It meets in the spring quarter. Okay, so when your laptop says it's connected, when it says it's connected, it means that it's talking to the access point, and the access point is talking to it, and they are set to do the radio transmission between the two. Right, blue socket, which you're all familiar with, and I guarantee you, you do not hate more than I do. In fact, I know of no one who isn't an employee or shareholder of the Blue Socket company who doesn't hate it. But Blue Socket is fundamentally a wired technology, because you connect to the AP, the access point. You know, the jargon, you got to have some jargon. The AP, connect to the AP. The AP connects to the rest of the world through this Blue Socket box, and the idea is to keep non-OU people from using the OU network. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about Blue Socket, like not more than we have so far, but we do all hate it. But this thing about radio is that anybody can see it. Right? So if you're sitting next to someone and your PC broadcasts, the neighbors can see it. All right. So let's try for the Facebook demo here.
Oh, okay.
My lovely assistant, Dr. Ostermann, is going to be running a regular old browser on his regular old Apple laptop.
Well, this is a MacBook Air. This is not a regular old laptop.
That's as may be, but the access point doesn't know.
Okay.
The access point doesn't know. He's running Facebook.
I got my Facebook page here. I've got a chat. I want to see if I can talk to somebody just like you guys would do. So let's see here. What do we want to say to Phil? Hey, live demos. Let's see. I'm not getting any response from this. Oh, it's not a touch screen. You know, that one is. This one is not. Hey, look. There's this mouse pad thingy. It slides the mouse pad.
Not an ordinary laptop.
Okay.
Okay, I just sent you something super secret.
Right now, meanwhile, over here at this side of the stage, on what is essentially an ordinary iPhone, I'm running the Facebook app, and so I can see that he's texting. Do you really want me to read it as you typed it?
No, I'll read it.
No, he's got it, man.
So this
Yeah.
is private. I can't have you just reading that out. That's between you and me.
Hey, Dr. Ostermann, your wife is really cute.
What are you talking about? This was private conversation between you and me.
So the message he typed me said, "Hey, my wife is in the audience. Don't you think she's really cute?" Right? So just so you'll know that this is not something we staged, we'll pick somebody here who's conveniently close by, but not a prearranged thing. All right. So if you'll type a message there, something that you're willing to share, because he's going to blab it out to everyone. Yes, we will do that. Not something that's too long and involved.
We need stereo. This is better.
So we've got lemmings, lemmings, lemmings.
Lemmings, lemmings, lemmings. So, in the scheme of evil doing, that was pretty easy. Samuel, how many hours did you put into setting this up?
We probably put in about 4 hours to setting it up, most of which was actually just getting the computer to work right. Writing a program was about half an hour's worth or so.
Okay, so these are tools that are readily available online. If you Google, you can find all sorts of stuff. You can find out that the world is flat, and you can find out where to download tools for hacking.
Not that OU recommends that.
Well, that's a couple of items down on the agenda.
So Steve just typed on your phone and from their conversation, is that what you're saying?
No, he typed a text message on my phone, which was part of a chat session that I had with Shawn.
Facebook message.
So Facebook obediently sent it over to Shawn, and Samuel there was able to intercept and eavesdrop on our chat session.
Everything goes over radio waves.
Everything goes over radio waves, so if you've got the right software, which isn't hard to find, and the right hardware, which a third of the room already has, and 4 hours of a computer science major's time, and better than average computer science major, so let's say that an average CS major will take 6 or 8 hours. Well, that's still not a major investment in time or money to eavesdrop on Facebook chats. We can go further, right? We can eavesdrop on
What if I'm banking? What if I'm looking at my bank account?
bummer. We're going to talk about that. You're a half a page ahead of me. That's all right. She was not a plant either, although kind of cute. So, this Wi-Fi stuff has a pretty good range. At my house, I can see Wi-Fi connections for 4 of my neighbors. And I know from experience, if you go to Brennan's or Perks, you can see a dozen or more access points belonging to people who live nearby or who have nearby businesses who are connected to the internet through their wireless APs right there, and you can sit there in Brennan's and look at their Facebook chats or connect to their internet. That's the part of it, is that the neighbors can steal. The neighbors can steal your internet access. Yes, it's unethical. It is illegal, I suppose, although it's not like a Class A felony or something. It is illegal. Is it a big deal if your neighbor steals some of your internet access? Probably not. There's some things you could do that could get them in trouble later. We can talk about illicit porn operations. That gets people to perk up a little bit. Where this really comes into play is in the corporate world, where corporations are running these wireless networks, and they have